Hey, everybody. Welcome to So What? Trust Insights Marketing, Analytics, and Insights podcast. Katie Robert has more important things to do today. So that's just the raw truth. You're stuck with the grumpiest old men. And for Marketing Over Coffee listeners, you know what to expect. But this is it. You get to see us live and in video in front of the screen. Christopher, what's going on today?
Well, today we're going to be talking, funny you mentioned Marketing Over Coffee. We're going to be talking about podcasts, particularly identifying influential podcasts and then trying to essentially build a work back plan. If you've got a show, what you could be doing to improve the marketing of your show. The constant joke we have is that the cobbler's kids not only have no shoes, they're walking around on bloody stumps because we don't market our show very well.
This is it. Yeah, this is the Bloody Stump episode, no doubt.
So we want to introduce an idea that we've worked with. I first built, it was a bit in 2012. This concept of sort of a digital footprint, trying to understand, based on a whole basket full of different measures, what is the relative footprint of any digital marketing property compared to peer or aspirational competitors. And so what we did was we pulled together the data for Marketing Over Coffee and then 4 other similar shows. And each of these, what's in this report are 5 categories: search metrics, social media metrics, earned media, which is referrals and public relations and stuff like that, owned, which is the content on your physical properties, and then paid, the ads you're running. And we compare individual metrics within each of these categories, like social media, number of followers you have, engagement rates, things like that in paid, the amount of estimated budget that you spend, how many ads you got running, etc., and come up with these sort of blended indexes. And what the footprint report shows you is essentially who's doing the best job of marketing. I wrote this in 2012 for a private equity firm. I wanted to use it to say, which company should we go buy, right? Which company is most likely to survive because of good marketing? And we've obviously evolved it a lot since then. So what we see today here for Marketing Over Coffee versus 4 other shows is that Marketing Over Coffee is sort of number 2 in search metrics, right? It's behind Entrepreneurs on Fire, and then Marketing Companion number 3, and so on and so forth. So doing pretty well on search. For social media, Akimbo, which is Seth Godin's podcast, I believe, definitely doing a great job of winning that there with Entrepreneurs on Fire in second place, Marketing Over Coffee in third. For earned media, public relations, we're not doing so. It's a little thin there. For owned media, Entrepreneurs on Fire again, first place there. And then for paid media, Entrepreneurs on Fire running a lot of ads. So that those combination of things puts Entrepreneurs on Fire sort of in first place. Akimbo in second, Marketing Companion in third, and Marketing Over Coffee in fourth place. So John, as the owner of Marketing Over Coffee, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think unfortunately we're put in the place that we deserve and where we're at. I mean, it's interesting just to see a bunch of those stats on fronts. The one that I looked at immediately was paid, just to see what was going on there. And that one is pretty clear. It's not that Entrepreneur on Fire is doing such an amazing job. It's that nobody is doing anything else. Like, they're the only ones doing anything. So that one at least is not as ugly as it looks. But yeah, the owned is interesting too. I'd be interested in any opinions you've got on owned and where we should go with that one.
So owned media content, a lot of that is, traffic estimates, what kinds of traffic sites are driving. And this comes from tools like, SpyFu or SEMrush or whatever, where there are actual traffic estimates in there. And so the big question is what is that site doing that is attracting so much traffic that it can, sort of outweigh almost everybody else? And to be fair, with podcasts, it's tough because your site isn't necessarily the podcast. The podcast is wherever people listen to it. So it's on Apple Podcasts, or on Stitcher, or on, Google Podcasts. It's not, you don't have to go to the website to listen to the show. And so for a podcast, you almost have to have like 2 different media properties. You have the show, and then you have the support of the show notes and things like that. So for that, big questions I would have are, what is the owned media strategy for Marketing Over Coffee other than putting up a blog post every time an episode drops?
Yeah, it's really not there. And then that as we look at this too, it makes it obvious that John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire, he has a whole training curriculum built around all this, and he makes no bones. He's got his numbers up there. He's doing like $300K a month in training and video, and that's all on that same site. So that's what that is. That's all business. And then it's also reassuring to see Seth Godin, Akimbo, who's pretty much in the same boat, just throwing a podcast out there. So even if we were as famous as Seth, that would be worth 1 percentage point, I guess, from looking at this. And Marketing Companion, the same deal. That's Mark Schaefer's business blog. In fact, I imagine he's probably drawing more traction from his blogging stuff and his business stuff than the podcast. So I guess it's not, it looks terrible for us, but if we were to pour all the effort into the world into that and raise it 2 points, I don't think that's going to make much of a difference on anything.
Yep. And I know future iterations of this are going to incorporate things like email marketing metrics as well, trying to get a sense of like domain reputation and things like that, so that there's a little more balance there. Because again, a lot of these sites, a lot of these podcasts are all kind of doing the same thing, trying to communicate with an audience. So the question that you would have for someone looking to advertise on a podcast would be to look at this and go, okay, does this show have the kind of reach or traffic that you'd want? Does it have a good, strong social presence and things like that? And then, how much does the show invest to promote itself and to try and attract an audience? So, looking at this, I would say obviously the easiest low-hanging fruit is to fire up some paid advertising, right? To just start putting $50 a month or something just towards basic retargeting, reminding people that the show exists, things like that. We've run ads for Marketing Over Coffee in the past. What's sort of been the strategy and thinking around that?
Yeah, it's, we've gone with the, stay out of the network. It's only organic results, and keep it laser focused, like only people that are searching for, CMO marketing podcast. Like, I think marketing podcast is not even on there because there's too many people searching for how to market their podcast. So, podcast marketing and some of those terms are negative out. And yeah, I basically normally had about $20 a month just kind of running. And it was one of those things where we were, if we got $13 worth of clicks in a month, that was a busy month. But yeah, I don't know, like somewhere just along the past 5 years, they stopped running and I stopped paying attention. Maybe my Amex card expired or something. And I just have paid no interest or looked to that. And as we talk about this now too, it seems like Facebook, I really should be running some Facebook ads. That seems like a no-brainer that, somebody that's likes these 4 other podcasts, I should be spamming their feed every day with something, I don't see any reason not to do that. So yeah, I think so. If that's your main prescription, I think adding paid back into the mix is something I should just turn on this weekend. Yeah,
I think I would personally do 2 things. I would have one, retargeting and stuff, and going after other shows, trying to poach to their audience a little bit. But 2, I would have a dedicated campaign trying to get people to sign up for the mailing list, because that is something that has real tangible value. And then when we go to advertise, or when we go to position the show as an influential show, we can say like, yeah, we've got the show and its X many downloads, but we've also got a mailing list, with X thousands of people who are ready to hear from you. And I think that makes it easier to sell to potential sponsors or people hiring influencers to say like, yeah, we got a huge list that is just waiting to hear from waiting for us to endorse, your client's whatever product.
Yeah, and so we've not done the same kind of work on the MOC list. I mean, it's only around 4,000 subscribers, but even at that, it just delivers huge. I mean, it's easy 30, 40 leads a month from that thing to driving to sponsors, which, there's podcasts I know with, 50, 100,000 downloads an episode that can't, provide those kinds of leads. So yeah, that's another interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that, having the social ads just go to the mailing list. And it's great. It's a low ask too. It's like once a month you get the thing. We're not going to be spamming you every day with this. It's just sign up and hear about the latest. And the other one with that is having the greatest hits in there as the intro for the series. When they sign up, they get this first message that looks like all the other newsletters, but that content has been curated and tuned so that we know that they tend to click through on that stuff, and it gets them engaged from day one.
Exactly. Now, the other thing that everyone who makes content has control over to some degree is what they get found for in search, and how, and sort of how search is working. And when we look at Marketing Over Coffee, it's doing reasonably well. If I pull up the actual search tool here, we see that there's tons of backlinks. So we've got a great amount of inbound links, decent domain coverage, not a ton of keywords, right? Only about 1,600 keywords here, and not a whole lot of traffic in general. Again, we know this. We know this is an issue. If we look at the leader in our thing, we have 91,000 backlinks, so fewer backlinks, way more keywords, right? We're talking probably 30x the keywords, and obviously a lot more traffic. So it's interesting. Normally, what we see good keyword coverage and poor link acquisition. In this case, it's kind of flipped around. So for the show, I would say, first things for us to check out would be like, are we even using the right SEO plugins and are we optimizing the pages? Are we finding the right content and checking the box on key terms to be sure that we're being found for the things that we want to be found for? Let's do a fun look. So this is a competitive tool. Let's do Marketing Over Coffee. And now let's add Entrepreneurs on Fire. And let's add in Marketing Companion. So what we see is there's a very small, there's no overlap actually for all three sites, which I find kind of interesting. There's 25 keywords that Marketing Over Coffee and Marketing Companion share, 8 keywords between Marketing Over Coffee and Entrepreneurs on Fire, Seth Godin. So a lot of the same folks, Oren Klaff and stuff. But then there's 5,000 keywords that Entrepreneur on Fire has that nobody else seems to have in place. Tony Robbins podcast app, podcast equipment, how to start a podcast, and so on and so forth, that they're doing really well for. So one of the things that I know we've talked about a lot in the past on the show is no talking, about the show on the show. But that actually seems to be a kind of a success formula here, right? What equipment, how to start a podcast, how to market a podcast, which microphone should you use? So we may want to spend some time on that.
Yeah, and well, then what do you think of the big one that jumps out at me? That is, we rarely do transcripts of the show. Should we just have transcripts of every episode on it? Because we are using Yoast to prime the title and 1 or 2 keywords. But if we just had 5,000 words on every one, would that be a game changer?
That would certainly help. And we actually have all the transcripts. The irony is we sent all 600 episodes out for transcription not too long ago. We have them. We just haven't had time to put them up because you got to go back manually and add them back in one by one. But we do have that. We used the Otter transcription service to transcode all that. The other minor challenge with that is that a lot of the guest names, it really, really hoses guest names. But then let's see, 49 keywords between Marketing Companion and Entrepreneur on Fire. And look, it's all podcast stuff. It's how to market a podcast. Marketing Over Coffee has this huge backlink profile, right? Which means that whatever we put up is going to do well. And it stands a good or better chance of knocking other people out of the competition for ranking. So we might want to tackle some of those popular topics, maybe even do a couple of episodes, show about the show kind of things.
Yeah, or even like now that you're saying that we could just totally branch off and just be a subset of the site is the whole, here's the Marketing Over Coffee podcasting guide. And we could do 3 or 4 episodes that are just about that and have a whole section of the site that just does that stuff. It would be interesting too. We'll have to come up with some, because Entrepreneur on Fire's got the whole kind of like, oh, nothing, let's get you, to podcast in 60 days. But maybe we could do something with a little different spin on it. So we're unique, but yeah, go for that same how-to 101 crew. Yeah.
I know for sure, when we look at the history of podcasting, and, we've been doing it for whatever, this is year 15 for us. a lot of people seem to still be going after, okay, well, I need to drop, $10,000 worth of gear and do all this, that, and the other thing. And there's not a lot of, you should probably try recording 10 episodes first to see if you're even good at it.
Yeah, no, that's totally it. Because it's just amazing how many times I get pitched by, hey, we've done our 5th show, and it's like, and you go back 4 months later, and they're giving up on it. So
exactly. So maybe a guide on sort of the bare bones necessities you need to do a podcast. You should probably have some kind of audio device. I mean, honestly, the audio, because we did this at conferences, just holding your phone up really close to your mouth and turning on the voice memos app isn't bad. It's not studio microphone, but for your first 10 episodes to figure out whether you even like podcasting or not, it's not bad.
Oh, no, absolutely. And this is something that, it's very easy for everybody to get wrapped up in the shiny object of like, okay, what software do I need to buy? What kind of hardware do I need to buy? And people are never asking the right questions about, well, how do I make, 30 minutes to 2 hours so entertaining that it's better than the other 65,000 other podcasts out there? That's really the thing. And yeah,
exactly.
There's a bunch of casts. I would much rather see somebody do 5 episodes on something really cool that their company only does than to be like, okay, we're going to sign on and do a year every week, and we're going to show up and record every week, whether we've got something interesting or not. That's just it's just like every corporate blog, right? It's just filled with a bunch of stuff that ultimately nobody cares about.
Exactly. So the last thing I think I want to tackle is search. I put in a bunch of other sites too, in addition to the 5 that we were analyzing. I grabbed let's see, who did I grab here for our Backlinks study? We have Amy Porterfield, digital duct tape marketing is in there, Growth Everywhere, Joe Polizzi's stuff, Neil Patel, Spin Sucks. And I wanted to get an understanding of, if you turn backlinks, which is essentially what this is, if backlinks are who's linking to your website, and you pull the backlinks for all of these different sites, I want to know, who do at least some of these sites have in common? And, are we getting links from them as well? Because if we're not, then it's an opportunity for us to go and get some more high quality links. So I went through and I pulled all this together and I turned it into a network graph, a network map. And without the super fancy visuals, because my computer almost choked to death on it, what I found was really fascinating. Somebody, and I suspect who, but I'm not going to name names, somebody has a bot network, because there's a ton of these blogspot blogs that have no domain rating, no traffic, and stuff like that, but they're just cranking out links like crazy. And so somebody's playing a little gray hat here.
Right. And so the idea, they've just got 20 or thousands of these free blogspot sites up there, and they're just doing random posting back to their content. And so Google is seeing that. And but I don't know. So the argument with that is always, at some point, Google will be smart enough to realize that content is automated crap, and that'll just vanish instantly. But at least for now, it has to be working because they're still up.
Yeah, exactly. So at least for the moment, it's still having some impact. I would say we definitely never want to endorse, crappy automation tactics, because yeah, you're right. Eventually Google will catch you and you will not enjoy the consequences of it. But then, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this domain rating. Let's just slap a simple filter on it here. And let's filter our domain rating.
Drop the junk ones.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do greater than, 25. Even that is going to help. And now we've got a nice list of, the Old Reader, which is a blog reading platform, e-commerce platforms, Marketing Twins. There's Muck Rack and stuff. So now we have a whole list of sites, social media today, that for us would make a lot more sense to be pitching these folks. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. And seeing, would some of these folks be decent guests even? HubSpot is in there, obviously. CodeVerge, Marketers Brain Trust, some show called 6 Pixels. Hi, Mitch. And so now, once we've trimmed out some of the fat, we can definitely see that there are places that we could go that are getting good, that have decent reputation, that could help contribute to our link graph. And if we add ourselves another filter here. Let's go ahead and filter on traffic. And let's do traffic greater than 5. Right, get more than 5 visits a month. Now we're starting to figure out, okay, how can we get on the owned portion of our report? These are the pages that are getting traffic. So these would be the folks that we would want to maybe go after, doing guest posts on the AMX Open blog, for example. Lee Oden's agency here, guesting on the HubSpot blog. These are all places that are getting the traffic. And so we might want to try and pitch them to see if they'd be willing to take some additional content.
Wow. So I just saw Neil Patel up in the 300s, but then you've got Seth Godin at 1100. That's what happens when you have 20 years of blog posts. It's just insane.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So there's a lot of sites out there that are cranking out good traffic, which would help our owned, good domain reputation, which would help us with our search stuff, and some of it would also probably fall into earn too. If you hired a public relations person, just go and pitch the show to people. Say like, hey, if you're writing about marketing podcasts, who knows? One thing that would probably do very well would be to write up essentially a companion paper to this episode and pitch it to all the podcasters out there, saying like, here's how to improve your podcast.
Yeah, that's true. We've got the whole list of everybody on there, and we can even counsel the criminal to clean up their act so it's not so visible.
Exactly. So that's what the digital footprint report really does a good job of, is identifying those influential places, but then finding it's the starting point to say, okay, well, where do I need to look? Like, what's broken most, and what are the things that I need to fix? And then you can start doing more advanced techniques to go and find those additional influencers to help you become more influential. Without doing that, you can just kind of sit there and think about optimizing things. But once you see the data and you see the metrics, you're like, okay, I know what the problem is. Like I was saying, with the backlinks, I think this is so fascinating because, again, most companies don't have enough inbound links. Like they don't have the social currency to trade. Whereas Marketing Over Coffee, because of its age, the domain age, and the sheer number of episodes, has a lot to trade. One thing that might be interesting to try would be also using a plugin on the site itself to auto link certain topics, so that you get internal linking in the site as well.
Yeah, that would be interesting. How about do you know anything about because I've noticed the domain rating and the Ahrefs tool here is always solid, but that the URL rating is low. There's something structural, I think, is up, and I've never been able to get to the bottom of that.
URL rating is at the individual page level rating. So, how much does any one given page perform well? And it's interesting. I think one of the things that's tricky about Marketing Over Coffee is that because there's so many guest interviews, there's a lot of sort of tent polling where, you have Seth Godin on, everybody, links to that page because, he's a popular guy. I would imagine if you were to have on, Joe Rogan to talk about anything except vaccines, you would get a lot of links to that page. And then you have other episodes where, the URL rating is going to be low because people aren't linking to those pages. Typically, those are the non-guest episodes where there's not a network externally that's promoting them.
I see. So that's not something is broken and your score's too low. That's more a graph of how the site is being hit, and the fact that we don't have kind of that standard thing of the last 2 months worth of stuff is getting millions of hits. Ours is spread all over the place. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. That's excellent.
Yep. But that goes to the point that you were making earlier about the transcripts and stuff. If we go in here to sort of the top pages and we try and get a sense of, what are those pages, there's some episodes in here. Let's take a look at this one. This is Aaron Cliff. This would be an episode because it's already performing well. We get the transcript on that page, give it the 5,000 words.
Yeah, that's a great point. Instead of us slogging through them one at a time, starting at the back, this is the to-do list. In fact, there's probably a point beyond which when I'm at the 200th one, it's not even worth. Yeah, because if it's getting zero traffic, right, I don't even bother. Or will it still get spired and at least be in there?
So it'll get crawled for sure. It'll get indexed, and it may or may not rank depending on what the word is for that page. So one of the things we see here is that obviously marketing over coffee and your name are in the top because people are finding it for the branded terms. And then you look down here as to what people, what the top terms are, and it really is all about the guests, right? So people looking for that particular guest person. So I would say, for episodes where we have a known good guest, those would be the episodes to prioritize first, and then the ones where there's not necessarily like house list here. It's not as good a thing. It's not bad, but it's not as good.
Right. And well, at least so in our defense too, like I did at least know enough, like all the Seth Godin, Simon Sinek, the King ones do all have transcripts up there.
Yep, exactly. So you can see there's, you can start to pull in some of the trends to take a look at like what's been happening with the site over time in terms of, top pages. How many top pages do you have? And definitely time to start adding more content to them.
Good deal.
Yeah. So that's the footprint report. What you do with it is you analyze it, you figure out where you are. We have found that particularly for agencies, this is really good for clients to help clients understand where they are. If you are an agency, if you work at an agency, this is an incredible sales tool because you build a report like this and then you can use it in a new business pitch to say, here's all the things that you're doing wrong. It's an incredible upsell tool for existing clients to, again, run this and say, hey, you're falling down in these two other areas. You might need some help on that. And of course, you have the ability to upsell for that. And then for whatever reason, in-house marketers, executives love to compare themselves to other competitors and say, okay, well, how are we doing against, our three nearest competitors? Well, this is a handy scorecard to get that in front of them and go, okay, we've improved or we have not improved since last month.
That's great. Yeah, no, I've got my marching orders.
So we should check back in a quarter and see if marketing over coffee has dominated any of the categories. If you put some maintenance in on things, if you're interested in running one of these reports, let us know. We're always happy to have a chat with you. Go to trustinsights.ai/contact and can certainly try to figure out how to help build one of these for you. Any other thoughts, John, on ways you could use this report to move your marketing forward?
And I think it's pretty clear. It's like transcripts and run some ads. I'm just going to start running with that, and yeah, it'll be good. We can check in a couple months and see if I can see. This is one of those classic ones. I can definitely guarantee that in the paid number, we are at least going to triple our score in paid. I can absolutely guarantee that today. So you guys will have to hold me to that.
All right. Well, if there's I don't see any comments in the comment stream, so we will go ahead and hop on out here and stay tuned wherever it is that you're enjoying the show. We've got other opportunities to tune in, but we'll talk to you all next week. Take care. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.